Welcome to MindBody TV. I am really excited to have everyone here. Please share where you're tuning in from. I'm going to actually load us up on Instagram as well so we can connect in there too. All right. So welcome. Hello, Nadine. All right, let's do that. And get started. We have a really exciting topic today. I'm super excited to share about. All right, so welcome everyone here. Hello everyone in Instagram. I'm Dr. Kim Duramo, and this is MindBody TV. I'm going to be sharing today about something I think is so essential and so like really in our face. And that's this shift in consciousness that's happening. We're moving from one consciousness, where our power is outside of us, where we are powerless, we are separate, into a consciousness where we understand that we are connected, we are one. Our power is within us. We are sovereign, we are divine, and we are here to create. And so, for those of you who don't know me, I am a physician. I was board certified in emergency medicine. I practiced full-time ER for several years until I sort of retired out of that, and have now been sharing solely about mind-body medicine and how the body heals itself. I started studying this. I had sort of an awakening experience when I was 16 and knew, I was connected with everyone, everything, everywhere, and that I was a creator, that my system was creative. It was creating my moment and my experience. I didn't really have words for that experience at the time, but I did start studying everything I could get my hands on at that time. So when people hear that I've studied mind body medicine for decades and decades and decades, they're like, what? But that's why, I was really young when I was so inspired to start learning about this. So what is happening right now that's so important? Hello, everyone joining. Thank you for sharing your where you're from. So when we understand, this awakening, each of us has a really different role in that than maybe what we thought we were doing in the old system, right? So the old system's like, oh, you're an accountant, or you should be this, or you should be that, or you just sit in a cubicle all day, and that's your value. And a lot of people are realizing, like, I'm dying in here. I'm miserable. This is terrible. I just want to get out. And that in that old structure, it's like you work your whole life, you save up for retirement, and someday you're free. And like the whole point of the work is to like build up this, fund, and then it supports you the rest of your life and you can be free. But what if you actually want to be free now? Or what if you want to do work that makes you come alive, and work that is expansive, that isn't just a means to an end of like making money or supporting your lifestyle, but work that is an end in and of itself? And so this is what is being created everywhere for everyone. And I want to share about what this means in our healthcare system, because the system we have that's been established is very much based on separation consciousness. You're only a physical being and there's nothing more to it. Healing happens from the outside in, and there's so much limitation and lack. But in truth, that's not true at all. Your body is a self-healing mechanism. You are not separate from anything. The solutions are not outside you, they're within you. And healing comes from within. And so there are many people who are awakening to be part of this system, who are realizing like, whoa, I have healing gifts I didn't know I have, or, oh, I can do this thing that maybe didn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but this could be really a great gift. And are awakening to realize, like, can I do this? Is this going to be like, do I have the credentials for this? Is this going to be accepted? Do I have an understanding of how to talk about what this gift is and how it fits in? And I want to encourage everyone that the answer is absolutely yes, that you will begin to awaken to gifts and talents and skills or new ways of doing things that may not make sense at first, that maybe you don't have words for at first. I certainly didn't have words for it at 16 when I had this awakening experience and knew what I was here to be a part of. But I was like, how do I do that? All I knew was, here's my next step. Here's my next step. Keep following each step. And in that sequence, it very much got created. So if you feel inspired, trust that inner calling, that inner whisper, that inner knowing, and let it reveal itself to you. One of the things I've seen where so many people get lost is that instead of coming into that new consciousness and operating there and sharing from there and setting up a business from there, they have this inspiration in this higher frequency, but then they try to put it into the old structure of what they already understand, what they're taught about how business works. And here's how you got to do it. And here's how you got to do your marketing. And here's what you have to do on social media. And they try to fit this thing up here into this thing down here, and it is like exhausting. Like it short circuits your whole body, that you're like, oh, I just hate this marketing, or oh, it just feels so slimy to do sales like that. And you don't realize that your whole business can exist in this higher state, even though it doesn't make sense to the mind, and that you don't need to do any of these like strategies or gimmicks or fill my program that so many people think you have to do. And so my inspiration is to assist the creation of this new system where so many of the things are going to come from our own sovereignty, not someone giving us a sticker or a seal of approval or an accreditation or credentials because they decide we're worthy, but because we know there's something inside us that's worthy. So if you feel you're part of that in any way, whether you're like, yeah, I'm going to be a coach, or I'm a wellness practitioner, or I'm expanding my business this way, or you're just like, I just know I don't fit into the old system anymore. And what would this new thing be? And you're interested in moving forward and getting clarity around that. I'm going to go, well, today in this broadcast, we'll talk a lot about that, but I'm also going to do a workshop in a couple of weeks specifically for this. How do we increase our frequency so we can create in this new paradigm? We can create in this higher frequency of what our truth is. So the link for this is at www.drkimd.com/workshop. It's free. You can all be there, but we'll be like more in a Zoom setting, and people can ask questions and things like that. So I will share the link for that here if you want to register for that. So welcome everyone who's here. Paige, Heidi from Salt Lake City, Malva from Sweden, Shaya from New York, everybody here on Instagram, Laurence, Bernadette, hello. I owe you an email back, I think, here. Louisa from Montreal, Aphrodite, Giada from Germany, Lucy, hello. Karen, amazing topic, and thank you for doing this work. Metamorphic Mind, I am an EFT practitioner, tarot reader, medium, twin flame, healed from autoimmune disease. I will help create the new paradigm of health. Yes, that's beautiful. And see how these things might not like make a lot of sense in the old structure. How can you read someone and be a medium and communicate with a higher dimension of consciousness? Like that doesn't make sense when we think we're purely physical, which is why it's been completely left out of the existing medical system, right? We're only dealing with the physical. And, you know, I think everyone in this community sees how limiting that is. We have more chronically ill people than healthy people in our communities. Hello, Carrie, British Columbia, Michaela, out with the old, in with the new, Aphrodite, Gabriella from London. Hello, Ellen from Toronto. Aphrodite, I'm going into nursing, kind of scared because I know I'll be a new age practitioner and I'm going against the old system. It's okay. There are a lot of people actually in nursing who are in communities like this community, who are awakening and realizing like, whoa, there's so much more to the story, or like learning Reiki and using it in their nursing practice. When I delivered my first child, the nurse came in and I instantly felt like a huge weight got lifted off my shoulders. And she said, oh, I just Reiki'd the room. And I can't even tell you, I can't describe how grateful I was that she took the care to clear the energy and do that. It just made all the difference in the world to me. So it's okay to be in the system, but not of it. And that was very much part of my journey, you know, to be in the conventional medical system and an allopathic residency in trauma. But then realize like, okay, this is part of my whole. This is not my endpoint. This is not who I am. And who I am is something bigger. So I definitely want to encourage everyone who's here to begin to listen within, to begin to let something guide you, and to let go of what everyone tells you about what you have to do, or like all the programs which are really graspy and they come from lack, because separation consciousness is lack consciousness, where you don't have the thing, but then you can get it. So you're like, I got to get more clients. I got to fill my programs. And it's a really depleting energy if you're a conscious, fully alive, sensitive being, because you're going to be aware of like, ooh, that is not the energy I want to be in. And so some people think, well, I have to do that to make this work, but it's not true. And it will always deplete your business. And even if you were to fill up and have like 1 million people, they wouldn't necessarily be able to receive what you're really sharing if they came in through those channels. Like I had to learn this because I got so lost in the shuffle of what everyone was telling me I had to do. And I thought it was a means to an end, right? Like, well, I'll do this thing, but it will get me where I want to be. No, the journey has to match the destination. If it doesn't feel fluid, it's not going to create abundance. So I'll go in the workshop more into like what does create abundance and how do you grow a business in that higher dimension and in consciousness. Because I also see a lot of practitioners who are like, well, I'm just in this conscious place. And so, I don't need money, or this comes so easy for me that it feels wrong to ask for money. I don't know how to charge. And they get really uncomfortable around the money situation. And you may feel it in your body. Like a lot of people carry that in the solar plexus, where as soon as you start to think about the money conversation or like asking for money, if you tune into the body, you feel it right here. Like, oh, this is uncomfortable. And that's because your relationship with money is in that old consciousness. So you got to upgrade your relationship with money to a new space, which is another thing that I'm doing in my work with practitioners. In fact, that's the first thing. I have a 4-month program with practitioners, and the first thing we do is rewrite their money relationship. Because if we don't have a harmonious relationship with receiving and abundance in our own lives, we cannot really serve others. It will always be limited, the degree to which we can contribute to others. Christine said, when I was a young child, I was terrified of conventional medicine. I used to cry myself to sleep, fearing that an MD would ever understand what I called my body's secret language. Wow. Finally, 30 years later, I met a visionary holistic MD who was a partner in healing. That's really beautiful. I actually had a similar experience that I didn't have a lot of fear, but I just was aware, like, don't go into that conversation because they will think you're crazy. So I had to keep it to myself. I didn't know anybody else in that conversation other than all the books I was reading. So I kind of like flew under the radar as a highly sensitive and awakened individual, with the consciousness that was coming in about what was going on in my body. And yeah, it was decades before I found other people who understood that as well. Julia from New Zealand, Sarah from Canada, Jonathan from Maryland. Be the medicine, life-changing. Stephanie Pfeffer, thank you. Stephanie was one of the participants in my practitioner program, which is the 4-month program. We are starting that up again at the end of November. I believe it's the end of November. Lindy from Sweden. All right, hello, Cindy. Oh, link says no result found, /workshop. Should be working. I'll make sure I share the correct one if that's not coming up correctly. Yeah, it's definitely working on my end. drkimd.com /workshop. All right, so the meat of what we have. So I wanted to talk about 2 specific things. One is when we are creating something new, right? Like it's not in the old system of what people already understand. Like I'm an acupuncturist and they already have like real estate for what that means and what you do or what they would come to you for. or I'm a massage therapist, right? And it's like, all right, that's a pretty standard thing most people understand. What we're creating now is actually a system that hasn't existed before. So there might not be really clear languaging for it before it comes in, right? Something has to come in, get created, be established. Then we have some languaging for it and an understanding. That actually takes a creative process. And the creative process is you. You hold the space for higher possibility. You hold the space for that which is unknown to come in and then be known. You hold the space for that which doesn't yet exist to come in and get created. And this is not such it's not always a comfortable process, because the society we're in says that your value is what you do. Like, are you doing, busy? And so in order to allow this creative process, we've got to go a little more into stillness and being, receptivity, which may look like nothing. I'm doing nothing. But it's actually in the no thing that all of the things get created. And if I'm not willing to sit even a little bit in the no thing, in the stillness of not doing, but being, then I actually can't become aware of something else. I can't create something new, because my awareness is all being absorbed by what is, right? Like, I gotta make ends meet. I gotta make money. I gotta do the thing. Oh, why can't my life get better? You actually have to sort of pause. Like I always say, you got to turn your computer off to let it reboot to a new operating system. And it's the same thing in your system. You've got to let your system stop focusing, doing, escaping the dragon, or, making new things happen, in order to actually let something higher come in. And that's not a process that most people are really familiar with or comfortable with. But that is like the most important part. If you know you're part of this new creation and new system, which I think is like for everybody in this community on some level, see if you can let yourself be a little more open to being in stillness. Like, relax your body. Let the breath come, exhale the stress, and kind of check in like, what's here under that? If I'm not my body, and I'm not my identity, and I'm not my job, and I'm not my thoughts, and I'm not the emotions that are moving through my body, what actually is the I that is creating, that is becoming aware of a new inspiration, and then going in the world to do that? Because if we don't pause to let something new come in, then everything we are doing is just going to keep creating the same result, because it comes from the same frequency. Amy said, yes, I'm resonating strongly. Good point regarding a higher frequency. I'm unable to exist in the 3D. I'm a sound healer. So and it's not even that you can't exist in the 3D. You just need to do it in a different way. And that's the thing that I think is a trick, is like what I've seen, the disconnect for so many like coaches or healers or people doing new technologies, is that they think they only need to exist in this higher space, and they don't know how to ground it into the physical space. So then they don't make money, or don't really have much of a living, or they don't maybe even have a lot of clients, or they don't have a lot of physicality to their structure where it's like easy for people to like click and choose it. It's a little more etheric, and it doesn't get grounded into this reality because there's so much resistance to the 3D. And I understand that. You're like, I don't want to be in the density of that. Oh, business is slimy and sales is slimy, and I don't want to do that. But instead of rejecting that, actually look at, how could I do this, but do it in the way that's aligned for me. Like for me, and I remember I used to have a lot of challenges with like, a sales video, right? So all my videos, super fluid, easy to communicate pretty much whatever I wanted. And it was like, I got to do this sales video. And someone said, well, why don't you just do it like you do the other videos? And this is the craziest thing, right? Because this was all the programming. Oh, because in the sales video, you have to make sure you mention this, and you have to make sure you da-da-da-da, and you have to make sure you say that. And I was like, oh my God, what BS is that? And she said, or what if like none of that's true? And I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe I said that, because I had already come out of so much of the mindset and belief system of like everything else I was doing. But there was this one thing, and it was like, why not just make it an invitation video? Like, I'm got blah, blah, blah going on, and you're invited. And if you want to play with this, be a part of this, you'll know. Because what I did know was the people who are here to connect with me already feel the calling within themselves, already feel inspired. They're going to be moved from inspiration. So all this like gimmicky stuff that so many people were saying, you got to have a hook, you got to make limitation, you got to, only this much, time, hurry up, or else this bad thing will happen, which I knew was not true at all. It was like this artificial way of trying to manipulate. Now, there's stuff where there are limitations, right? Like we have a start date. So, hey, here's when we're starting. After that time, it's not going to happen. Or, there's a live event we're going to have actually, and we're announcing this officially tomorrow, but a live event in January for everyone is invited in Dallas for just a couple days together to do a workshop. And there's only room for 30 people in the small group. I'm going to do like a small group sovereignty workshop in front of that large, on the front end of that larger event. There's only room for 30 people. There's only room for 30 people. But when you would learn like, oh, I had a friend that did this, not really friends anymore. She was like, oh, there's only this many spots, bing, bing, bing. And I was like, if you have a webinar room, why is it limited how many spots? She goes, oh, no, I just tell people that or else they won't take action. And I was like, oh my God, this girl is a total farce. She's using manipulation because she thinks they're not inspired enough to actually choose themselves fully. It's a fear tactic. And it was like, there's so many validating ways that I kept just trusting my knowing around this. And it created so much more prosperity in my work because authenticity is going to create more prosperity. People will resonate with your authenticity. If you do the tactics, what you're going to bring in is a whole bunch of people in fear who can't really receive what you're doing. So you're like, it might look good on paper, but it's not actually going to create wealth or abundance. So there's a lot of things that I've shared along the lines of this. And I think the most important thing I wanted to share in this broadcast today is your frequency and your consciousness is what the world will feel, not your tactic or your tool or your massage or your pill or your treatment, or like, it's not about the tools and it's not about your education. It's about who are you being that allows you to anchor in a higher consciousness and let it be created in this reality. Because we will collectively, in a decentralized way, create this new system. It's not going to be the centralized system where there's like a pyramid, right? Like some very elite people at the top who are winning every time someone's sick or dying. There's no cure for cancer because cancer is a very profitable business. It's not that there's no cure for cancer, of course, but in that system, this isn't, no cure. We're just going to keep managing your cancer. So what we know is like, well, that people are healing all the time. And many of us are developing those technologies. And you're like, so why isn't this out in the world? It's because in a hierarchical structure, the benefit is for the few, and then the many are the contributors are feeding it. And in this new system, it will be one of prosperity where we all win. Every time one wins, we all win. Every time one person heals, we all come into greater prosperity. And so this system will very much be created in a decentralized way, meaning, lots of different focal points, not one main focal point who's running the whole show, right? And it will be created in a much more conscious way from the inside out, meaning you have your wisdom, you have an inspiration. Oh, whoa, what if we could do that? Or, oh, I have this gift. Let's see what it does and what I can do. And you realize you have an amazing impact. All the technologies I've seen that are truly healing have been created this way through like your own life journey of hardship or illness. And then you realize like, whoa, I found all of these amazing modalities, right? Organically. And a lot of these things are being created from a space you're like, I don't even know how to do this. My whole body of work was created like that, right? And of course, I learned and studied about psychoneuroimmunology, epigenetics, quantum physics, but the work I'm doing came from a higher space through me. And that is really how these things will be created. So trust what is coming through you and what you're inspired to create. Okay, so great. Thanks, Alicia. Alicia put up the other link. So you can go drkimdoramo.com/workshop if you would like to come to this practitioner workshop. So anyway, so the workshop is for practitioners, coaches, healers, highly sensitive beings, intuitives, doctors, nurses who are looking for, how do I bring this higher dimension into the work I'm doing? And how do I create the unknown thing in a tangible way that now feeds my lifestyle and supports me and supports my lifestyle? So now, instead of having your source be the system, right? My job is my source, my boss is my source, my whatever, my practice, my career is my source. No, within me is my source. And so letting yourself be sourced from a much higher space, a much higher frequency. It's a very, very different thing. And your physical health is impacted. Your emotional well-being is impacted, because the more we think that that system is our source, we just decrease our frequency, right? Because we're powerless. We need this thing that is not very harmonic. Amy, yes, it's all, oh, good. I'm a nurse, and yes, I'm done with the old system. Yes. Hello, Merite from Norway. Metamorphic Mind. Thank you for being the best mother, leader, and healer. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. Stephanie, I'm starting my life coaching business called Healing Through Embodiment. It's time. Yes, it's time is a really potent phrase too, because this is really the time for so many things to come forward in the world. We're now having the collapse of, our systems, educational systems. And this is not new news, right? Like when I started college in 1991, it was really the beginning of recognizing that collapse. It used to be like, go get educated, get a good job, and you'll be able to support life and go forward. And that was the beginning of seeing like, oh, this doesn't work. People aren't actually successful coming out on the other end of the system. My roommate's brother had just graduated, and it was the first generation of kids moving back home and with their parents after college. So he finished college, and then he moved into his parents' basement. And it was like, wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? People weren't able to support their lifestyle and weren't able to flourish and go forward with this system. So it was like, what's the education that would actually have us be proactive and thrive and create and contribute and be able to support our own lifestyle? Is something very different. Our financial structures are collapsing, where we're like, we got this centralized banking system. Well, every dollar you have just decreased by 20% in some instances because of all of the cash influx. They just print more bills and throw them in. So you think okay, I've got this nest egg saved up, and through no power of your own, you just sitting there, it just diminished. Unless you did something to grow that business or increase that investment portfolio by a factor of over 15 or 20%, your money just decreased. So a lot of people aren't seeing this yet, but for those of us who are, you're like, ooh, there's something wrong with this system. What's this financial system? A financial system that's centralized, meaning the most people are feeding it and the very, very few are actually winning, versus a decentralized financial system where we all win. What would that look like? Well, these things are already being created. It will take your personal awakening in consciousness to be able to participate there, to understand it, to be able to, oh yeah, no, I'm going to let that other thing go. And here's what I'm choosing. If you're still in fear and lack, you won't choose it, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to do what's safe. And you're just going to hold on tighter to the old systems. Well, they're collapsing. And so this will be a rocky period for those of us who are identified with those systems, who think that's my source, or that's who I am, or that's my title. That's my identity. I'm a fill in the blank with your title. It will feel really rocky to have that collapse. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know who I am if I don't have that money, or I don't have that job, or I don't have that status. And you'll feel the discord in your body, right? A lot of fear. So breathe through the fear. You're not your body. You're not your status. You're not your money. You're not that job. You are the being witnessing all of it. You are the creative being. And so same with our medical system. We're seeing like a major collapse right now where it's like, wait a minute, do I choose for myself, or am I told what to do because, you know, we believe humans are too stupid to choose the right thing, so we have to force them to do what we think is right for them, which, you know, and that puts a lot of other questions into the mix, like, well, who decides what's really right? I don't get to decide for myself. So we have to look at like, and I don't think it's a camp about like, do what you're told or don't do what you're told. I think it's a camp about, are we sovereign, where we think for ourselves, we decide for ourselves, and we choose for ourselves, or outsourcing our decisions and outsourcing our power and outsourcing, you know, our path. I think that's the biggest thing that we're moving from one consciousness to the other. So we're seeing the dissolution of all of these structures, which is an amazing blessing. But with great compassion for those who are, you know, identified with them, and you think that's your source, it feels really, really difficult or confusing. Yes, Nadine, upgrade your relationship with money to a new place. So this is one of the things I've seen with practitioners who want to be part of that new system, is like, we have to be willing to be in abundance. Because if I'm not in abundance, why would anyone want to listen to me? If I'm not living in greater wholeness than where most people are functioning from, why should anyone listen to me? Right? If I can't access you to something higher. So I have to do that by my own embodiment. So I've got to be in a fluid relationship with money, and I've got to be in a receptive relationship for wealth, for abundance, for ease in my life. And that's another thing about the old system. It's like, work harder, work harder, work harder, and then you'll get there. Where did I think I was going to get? Because, you know, if you're operating in lack and strife, it's only going to create more lack and strife and hardship. So I had to say, wait a minute, what is it to be operating in abundance? Is it like toiling away all day to try to like write a better blog and get more people to listen? No, that felt really discordant. And so I had to start practicing differently. Like, I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to go hike for 2 hours. I'm going to go sit in the jacuzzi outside and look at the mountains on a Tuesday at 2:00. And that's going to grow my business. Yes. Exponentially grew my business because I started to prioritize my well-being. I don't think a lot of people necessarily really understand how to do that, because you've got to tune in, really drop in to even know moment to moment what will create more well-being for me. So try that now. Just soften your shoulders and breathe. In this moment, what will create more well-being? Maybe stop thinking about that other thing and just breathe. Maybe relax your shoulders a little. Maybe start taking action to look for other opportunities and be proactive if you're not happy where you are. Maybe it's in a relationship where you're like, oh, I want to have more harmony in that relationship. So just start now. What creates more harmony now? Breathe a little more easily. Soften your body a little more fully. That's a great access point to continue to expand. Oh, another great nugget. You have to stop and get quiet to make room for the new inspiration to come in. Yeah, that's really, really big. And this alone, like just, okay, moment to moment, I'm going to choose what's abundant for me. Especially if you're a practitioner or you're doing an EFT or you're setting up a business or you're transitioning from the old structure. Got to start looking at that like, whoa, what would my relationship be with money? And that's the first of the 4 months of what we do in the Be the Medicine course, is like, we gotta relook at what is abundance, right? And how do you actually create it in your body right now versus trying to get it out there? Because it will never, ever, ever come that way, ever. and if you aren't clear on that, keep trying, because it will bring more clarity that there's nothing out there. It's just you working harder. And the only thing that will actually create expansion in your life is you being more here now and bringing in ease. That's going to change everything you do. Metamorphic, we must integrate the third with the 11th dimension wisdom, ground and receive. Yes, because if we reject it as like, it's not only lower, but we think it's worse or it's unwanted or it's beneath me, and we like reject it, well, what you resist persists. You can't resolve in the third dimension when you're in rejection of it. You can only resolve what you embrace. So embrace where you are as you are, and already more light will show up and more abundance will show up in your life. Can we sign up for the workshop if we don't have a business? Yes, 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 yes. The workshop is free for everyone. I think it will benefit everyone who's moving out of old structures into a higher consciousness. And for those who are, moving into a business or a practice that's more expansive in assisting others awakening, it will be very helpful for that as well. The Be the Medicine program is a 4-month program where I work with practitioners, healers, coaches, or those who are thinking of moving into that realm, like Stephanie here. She just knew she had some intuitive gifts and wanted to get more clarity in developing them and looking at how could I create this as my lifestyle. That's the Be the Medicine program, and it's at drkimd.com/BTM. If you want to check out the details of that program, it's going to be starting very soon. Aphrodite, thank you. It's scary. We are losing our choice to what to do with our body. We're not losing our choice. We're not losing our choice. It's a delusion that anyone can take away your power. If you go into fear, you have less power. You're a lower frequency. And so things will happen differently for you that will seem like it's true. It's not true. Christina, I do not see abundance and wealth as always connected. For me, abundance is a radical trust that I have enough and will have enough. Well, that's wealth. To me, that's wealth. Wealth consciousness is I am always taken care of. I am always supported. I am abundant. Life is fluid. Life is on my side. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with finances, right? But it usually will have to do with how do I interact with my finances? Because our financial system is not in an abundance consciousness. So how do I interact with money, finances in exchange from wealth consciousness versus lack consciousness? A grant. Yes, I feel called to sign up, even though I don't know my own business yet. I feel like I will in the future. I'm just not clear on what that will look like yet. Yes, so this is definitely for you. There are so many people moving out of the paint by numbers, tell me when to show up and I'll show up, tell me what to be and I'll be it, and moving into, oh, let me connect within and get clarity and look at who am I? What's my inspiration? What do I want to create? What am I about? And will begin to create their lives from this inner connection. So that's really what the workshop is about. You will love it. It's free. It's at drkimd.com/workshop. And you can sign up. You can sign up now. It's happening on, when is it happening? It's happening in a couple of weeks. Is it really a practical choice if your employer is forcing the choice on you? Okay, so I'm just going to touch in on this for a second. When we think we're not at choice, we buy into the idea that we're a victim. When we see, okay, I'm going to choose this because I choose to keep this job and do what they're asking me to do. And then even if I don't want it, can I just choose it, right? Versus saying, oh no, I don't have a choice. I have to do this. No, you don't. You could go and do something else, or you could comply and make the choice to do what they're asking you to do and stay. So I choose to comply, or I choose to go somewhere else and see what else is possible. But you've got to stay in the I am choosing. Now, sometimes we feel there is no other choice. Okay, so then make this choice. If I don't see another choice, first of all, what I do is that I soften. Whenever I see that there's no other choice and that choice is unwanted, I'm like, all right, wait a minute. I'm not seeing possibility. What else is possible? And then sometimes that is the choice. You're like, all right, this is the way I'm going to go, but I'm going to choose to go that way because I don't know what else to do, rather than say, I don't have a choice. I have to do this and buy into victimhood. Because even though it might show up that way, it's never true. Thanks, Alicia. The workshop is on November 16th. So we can't choose moment to moment if we are feeling anxious and feeling physical symptoms. Then we have to choose being present with the symptoms, and it's very heavy. Yes, you choose being present with the symptoms, but that doesn't mean you can't choose, right? I can choose to reject and escape, and I could choose to be present. So I can choose whichever one I want. The more I choose to reject and escape, the more clarity I get that creates more lack and more pain. So either way, it's serving me. But remember, I'm at choice. I mean, that's the first kind of warrior move, right? Because when we're in victim, we're like, no, I would have never chosen this. Well, a lot of times subconsciously, our system is creating an illness or creating an unwanted situation or creating, it feels like rock in a hard place. But we've got to get back in and be like, wait, I don't know how I'm creating this, but somewhere subconsciously, this is what's getting created. Let me drop in. Let me drop into my power. And I can only drop into my power where I am now. And if where I am now is rejected, well, I can't have power, right? Because I keep rejecting it. So just get really curious about that. Wait a minute, what is she talking about? I'm creating my reality? I would never create this. It's subconscious. Part of me is subconsciously creating this. All right, the first step is I have to accept that. I have to embrace that. Okay, I don't like it, but let me just welcome that that's where I am right now. Disconnected from this part of me, unaware of what I'm creating, and what would it take to create something different. So as a, yes, Michaela, we can sign up if you don't have a business. There's no need to already be started on the path of any of this. I think our new world will be kind of entrepreneurial in every way. Like what we are creating as a collective hasn't been created before. The ways we'll do exchange and finance, the ways we'll educate our children, the ways we'll live in our homes, the ways we'll conduct business, all of it will be in a higher dimension, based on unity, based on abundance, based on neutrality, instead of one based on hierarchy, lack, and fear. So know it's here and you are a part of that. This workshop will be an awesome, it's a free virtual workshop. It'll be an awesome resource to assist that and just get you really connected in with the system. For those of you who do want to be a part of my next practitioner group, that is always also open. It's at drkimd.com/BTM. And to ask ourselves why we are creating illness. I don't usually ask, why am I creating this problem? I will ask, what else is possible here? How can I do it differently? What alignment would need to happen in order for something new to get created? And usually the alignment that needs to happen is stop rejecting what's here and drop in more fully and embrace exactly where I am as I am. For me, that's almost always a really a good PowerPoint. All right, I will see you at the workshop if that resonates. I'll be here every week for MindBody TV at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on Wednesday. The workshop is at drkimd.com/workshop. And oh, beautiful, Kristen, the realization that the same frequency that healed my autoimmune illness is what will create solutions in my business is landing so deeply lately. I used to think they were totally different. Thank you. Yes, that's probably like the best take-home point you can have. The same thing that heals your body and brings you into alignment is what will bring prosperity into your work and into your business and love into your relationships. Because it's not separate, right? In separation consciousness, everything's separate. So welcome, welcome, welcome to the world of you and the world of your prosperity and the world of sovereignty and creatorship. And I look forward to seeing you next week and joining me for MindBody TV. Lots of love. Bye.